Hey fam, what's good? She-Roze here, and welcome back to another edition of Power Talks. Today it is my absolute pleasure to present one of my favorite human beings on the planet, Dr. Christine Suh. She is an absolute powerhouse, and like many of the other folks that we've talked to this last month, just an incredible multi-hyphenate Shiro. We'll just call her a freaking Shiro because that's exactly what she is. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Christine Suh. So Dr. Christine Suh is a special education consultant who is, I love this part, student-centered and driven to ensure that the students feel seen, heard, valued, and celebrated. Where was Dr. Suh when I was in school? That's what I always tell myself every single time I think about that.
And
So with
feel
over
feel
20
free to
years,
call me Shorty. Feel free to call me Christine.
or as I like to say, gangsta.
Hey.
So Miss Gangs over here has over 20 years of experience in the field of education and a passion for entrepreneurship. And that passion has driven her to become a partner in a small catering business that is a local Los Angeles favorite named Barrio. She started that partnership in 2022. And what I love is Barrio's mission. Barrio's mission is to build community and celebrate culture through cuisine. They are delicious and they are amazing. And she's going to tell you all about the fabulous work that they do. She also does partnerships with a variety of different nonprofit organizations, such as Sowing Seeds of Change. And her goal is to offer mentorship and work experience opportunities for youth. In addition to that, if that's not already enough, she also serves on the board for Shiro Collective, as well as You Run This Town Foundation. And she also loves curating events, and when she's curating events, don't be surprised if she serves up a little mixology magic using her own line of homemade, organic, simple syrups called A Little Something, right? So again, if you're ever in LA, you need to look up Dr. Christine Suh, aka Shorty. So I'm going to go ahead and pull her into this conversation. Now, again, I could personally talk about her for days, but I'm going to let her talk about herself a little bit. So, Shorty, tell us a
Hey.
little bit about your journey, and what's led you to this particular moment in your life. What are some of the experiences that you've had that have helped you become this multifaceted professional and social entrepreneur? And what are some of the things that have maybe helped you shape your point of view and really understand your purpose in life?
Well, first and foremost, I feel super honored to just be in this space with you. You are one of my favorite human beings, She-Roze, and I love just chopping it up with you about anything and everything. So truly honored to be here, just to share my journey. And at the end of the day, I want to say my journey has been significantly impacted by just the amazingly cool, beautiful souls that God has given me the opportunity to come across and develop deep relationships with. And I think that's really just guided who I am and where I'm at this point in my life. Um, you shared a little bit about the career in education, and so I'm a special education teacher by trade. But before I got into education, I was all about sales. I loved working retail. Gap Kids, skate shop. If I loved the product, and I love meeting people, and I love being able to serve people, and so I really did think that I was going to just continue on in that retail role. And sister was just like, hey, you're really good with kids. And I'm like, I do love kids. And I miraculously got into college and started studying child adolescent development and just became intrigued at about, how we become the people that we are physically, emotionally, just socially, and got into the field of education. Love kids. I feel like trying to be somebody in their life and just every interaction with any human being, really, not just kids, but just every human being can have such an impact on their mood and what they think about themselves. And so, kind of fast forward 20 years of education, specifically in the world of special ed. That was the need at the time that I got into, into the internship program, and they were like, we need science teachers, we need math teachers, and we need special ed teachers. And I was
Mm,
like, okay, special ed teachers, you guys have the ability to then work K through 12. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I can work with like all the youth. So I selected special ed, had no idea the legal,
mm,
ramifications and all the different things that I needed to learn on the legal realm. But I think that it really, really allowed me to learn about how people learn, how brains operate, how we all learn differently, and not one is better than the other. And, really focusing on the able. I think that in the world of special ed, that there's so many challenges and so many things that students can't do and they have challenges with. And, how can we help? And really trying to get folks to see like, hey, there's really a lot that our kids are
mhm,
coming to the table with. We just got to find it. And we got to really build on their strengths and really build on their interests. We got to build them up. And the fact that they learn in a different way, and that they need accommodations, like that doesn't make them any less of a person. I think that they really need to be celebrated, and I think they have so much to bring to the table. And I think that that's really what shaped my desire to be an advocate for them,
mm,
and for me to just be able to show people like, hey, like they can do this, like you just got to do it like this. And I've been really blessed with a lot of mentors in my life that have really guided me. I'm
mm,
like, you can have all the education in the world, right? You can go to school, get the degrees, but I think that I learned the most from my mentor, Sydney Kwan, Bob Farron, and just people who have really like nurtured my desire to help kids, be seen and be heard, and feel celebrated and feel like they can do what they want to do, and finding their strengths, and helping them achieve their dreams. Um, I had the opportunity to work like district charter, special education, local planning area. My area of expertise was transition. I was tasked to teach English and math and science and history, but those weren't necessarily the subjects that I loved. I actually really love like, oh, I'm now a high school teacher. Okay, now I got to prepare kids to get jobs, and I got to prepare kids, to be able to live independently. I loved teaching that stuff. And so I was given the opportunity to specifically focus on that area of preparing youth for adult life. So developing employment programs, finding different job placements and businesses to partner up with. And that was my heart and soul. I loved it. I think when the pandemic hit, and I
mm,
feel like that should be like a caveat statement for everybody. Like when the pandemic hit, I had been working in a position where I am now working at an agency that oversees special ed services, as well as provides staffing services to charters and districts throughout the country. And, I first started off with, coaching the folks who worked with the kids,
mhm,
and then as we grew and grew, I was like, oh my gosh, we're in the pandemic and I am the partnerships person. I am the person who is pretty much sales. I'm
mhm,
selling our services. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, not that I didn't feel strongly about what we were offering to clients, but I'm like, I love kids and I'm not even getting that direct one-on-one with the kids. And so I decided I would take a sabbatical and just
mhm,
take a step back. Working 60, 80 hours a week for 20 years, I was just like, I think I just need time to just kind of figure out like what is it that I want to do, um, and how am I going to go about doing that. And so um, took a sabbatical. It was maybe like 3 months in, and then I was like, oh, you know got the
Your
educational
sabbatical,
piece.
P.S. Your sabbatical was the busiest sabbatical ever, and ironically, I'm finding myself following in your footsteps, and I'm like, I need to talk to Christine. So yeah, so tell us about the impact of that sabbatical and your very short-lived 3 month sabbatical before you went all in.
The sabbatical, I mean, I ended up saying like, okay, let me rent out the unit that I'm currently living in. Let me move back with my parents. And you know, the reason that I ended up choosing to take the sabbatical was like, oh my gosh, I'm not spending time with my parents. My parents are getting older, and I don't want to regret not spending quality time with them. So I was like, oh, what a great opportunity. Let me rent this out. Let me go ahead and live with them. And you know, I absolutely love my parents, and being able to spend some QT with them and really just gaining more wisdom from them, and you know being older, taking advice from your parents is is so much easier. I think when I was younger, when I left the house, I was like, y'all trying to ruin my life and you guys trying to do this. This is my life. And, as I grow older, I'm like, well, my parents really did know better. And while my parents really did have always my best interest in mind, and I just was a little too ignorant or naive to know that. And growing older, and just being so in awe of who they are and what they've been able to accomplish. Um, my first 3 months, it was like, we're going to, we're going to go to Kauai and we're going to go take the East Coast trip and we're going to road trip and see the flowers and the leaves and, the seasons changing colors. So it was really fun to just have a good time, spending time with them. Got my bartending certification for fun. Just because I wanted to know more and learn more. I got the educational therapy certification just to kind of increase my knowledge on different strategies of working with youth and just people in general, because we all have brains that operate differently. And then, right before the pandemic, we were doing some pop-ups. Our current CEO, executive chef, Eugene Santiago, I've known him for 20 plus years, met him through our really good friend, Rob Utmost. And I remember moving back into the duplex in Long Beach and, Robbie coming over, seeing kind of like the things that I was doing to make this into the home that would invite community in. He's like, hey, have you talked to Eugene recently? And I'm like, when's the last time I talked to Eugene? He's like, you should talk to him. He's looking for different spots to do some pop-up dinners. And I'm like, cool. So I hit him up. He came over and was like, yeah, can we do something here? And I was just like, yeah, for sure. Let me know whatever you want to do. And he's like, well, what would you charge to have it here? I'm like, dude, if I can have a party at my house once a month and you're cooking, if I could eat, wonderful. So we started doing like monthly pop-ups here. And then the pandemic hit. And so I think fast forward, like we had still continued to keep in touch. And, he's living right next door. And we were like, oh, we saw a property go up for lease that's just right down the street. And, it was always kind of like hey, when are you going to have Barrio become kind of like, your thing? Like, you're it's kind of been a passion project. It's been kind of like something fun that you enjoy doing. You enjoy cooking for your friends. You enjoy, cooking with your friends, serving your friends, serving the community. It's been something kind of fun for you. Whereas, you've had all of these amazing, positions as, sous chef, line cook, all these different things. So when we saw this property and his eldest cousin and her husband, I think there's been a lot of people who have been like, hey, we would love to support. We would love to invest. We would, let us know when. And when we saw the property, we ended up saying like, let's go in. Let's do it. Let's become a formal entity. And it's been an absolute blessing to have such a dynamic group. Mary comes in as, real estate agent, part owner of an adult day center. Roy comes in as, broker, part owner of cannabis company. You got Eugene, who is just multifaceted, and just like, not only is a genius with kind of how he cooks, but also with his desire to know where the food comes from, how was it grown? How is it harvested? For him to want to know the full cycle and for him to also want to utilize his talents to serve the community. So the four of us together, we just kind of bring different backgrounds into it. And it's been just amazing to be able to learn from each one of them, for me to be able to learn more of, my role and who I am in our dynamic, with all of us having that same goal of we want to, be able to serve the community, be a viable business, be able to celebrate, I think we think of cultures as in like, ethnic cultures, but I also think of like the culture of, youth with disabilities, so just all different cultures, and we all like to eat. What brings people together more than food? Right? Right.
Especially when it's good food, by the way, and it's really good food.
Oh, I mean, I don't think I've put anything, like, I don't think I've ever tasted anything and been like, it's always been like eyes closed, shaking head. It's delicious.
Euphoria.
Give me some more. And to just know that, oh, he's, tried to source as much as he can locally. And it's been a godsend to even, um, meet different organizations like Sowing Seeds of Change. There, it's like my happy place when I go there. And there's a lot of amazing local farms here in Long Beach, as well as like in LA County. But something that's just kind of special to my heart is I didn't invest in and want to become a part owner of Barrio just for us to have a catering company and for us to eventually get a brick and mortar. My vision and my goal was, how can we do that and establish a well-oiled machine that is, structured, that's replicable, that I can then, bring in youth for mentorship opportunities,
Mhm.
job shadowing, bring in youth for work experience opportunities. And so that's kind of always, it's like, that's my end goal. That's my end goal, is for us to be able to get to that point where, yes, we can now go ahead and bring in and partner up. And so I've always had to remind myself, hey, eyes on the prize, eyes on the prize. It is not a sprint. It is a
Mm,
marathon. It nothing that is going to make a significant impact is built overnight,
mm.
and so we're almost in official year two. We're almost at, tier anniversary, and we've had an actual commercial kitchen for about a year and a half. And to just see the growth and progress, and to just be surrounded by such an amazing community that, you think to yourself, oh, all these businesses are competing with one another. And, I feel like, specifically in this community of Long Beach, that people show up for one another, people empower one another, people are supporting and celebrating one another. And it's not like this competition. It's more of like, how can we all together share our missions, our visions, a lot of them being in alignment, and how can we empower one another? How can we just help each other? How can we like all shine together? How can we all elevate together? And I think that that's something that I feel like is really unique to the community of Long Beach. And I see that just continuing to expand.
Girl, I'm trying to hold still in my seat. You got me getting goosebumps, feeling all the feels.
I mean,
So,
I'm trying to get you on back to Long Beach too,
girl, it won't take much. So, my goodness, there was so many. I was like, okay, just let her talk because she's on a roll and she's killing it. And it's all the things like, yeah. So, but
And I'm
anyways,
like, I probably went all over the place,
but girl, again, so many gems in what you just shared, and hopefully by now, like our folks listening in are getting a little sample, a little taste of why exactly. Again, like I said, you're just such an incredible Shiro, and why I thought it was so important to be able to include you in this particular series because. For folks that don't necessarily know that much about Shiro Collective, my original inspiration for creating the Shiro Collective was because I think it's one thing to um, celebrate artists and create platforms for artists, and groups like Power Street Theater do that. There's lots of organizations that do, but I also thought it was important. Two of the things that you talked about was um, one, creating pathways and careers and that mentorship opportunity. And, how do you take something that you love and turn it into something that can sustain you? Which, again, some of the things that you and I have always really been synchronized on. But the other thing that was important to me was to say, hey, you know what? The people creating the platforms to support these artists also deserve their flowers, also deserve their recognition. And the truth is that we need more people that understand that there is a way to be involved in the world of arts and culture, without necessarily having to be the person on the stage. Because the truth is that we all don't want that. We want arts and culture to exist. We want to be involved. We want to support, and we find that enriching, without necessarily, being in the kitchen and cooking it up ourselves, even though we like that, right? Like being on the mic, being behind the decks, etc. So for me, again, like you're kind of just like this like living example of what Shiro Collective stands for. And again, I just think that um, what people maybe got a little bit of a sample of is just how much enthusiasm and excitement you bring when you see someone you see a spark in someone, you see their creativity, and you're one of these people that I think sees that spark and just puts in the logs. You're like, all right, I see something here. This can turn into this can turn into that. And you don't just share that point of view. You roll up your sleeves and like, all right, let's do this. How do we turn this into something? Like I get all choked up. You're one of these people that genuinely invests in other people, in community. You're someone who is laying bricks every single day and in it for the long haul, to get us from where we are as a community to where we want to be an empowered community that is self-sustaining. So again, I'm getting all soppy eyed over here. Um,
Oh.
but hey, we got room for tears in this too. We keep it authentic. So the way that I like to think about you is, you are literally a curator of arts, culture, and community. And again, folks maybe got a little sample size of that, but I'd like you to maybe, fill us in a little bit more on what inspires you and attracts you to the people and the organizations that you work with, right? And P.S., you kind of talked a little bit about, how Barrio got started, with Eugene, but like, what I'm looking for the meaty goodness. Like, what are the characteristics that you're looking for? You mentioned, you mentioned, of course, like here I am looking right now. I got so excited, I just like lost my spot. Sowing Seeds of Change. Maybe share a little bit more about what that organization does as well, and while you're giving us a little bit of like the meaty goodness on, what inspires you and attracts you to some of these organizations that you're working with.
So, sowing seeds of change, it was interesting. We were looking for different venues to host dinner, brunch. We had just popped up and did some ticketed dinners for Valentine's over at one of our favorite places, Sala, out here in Long Beach. They're also in Whittier. And I was like, okay, what's next? People are like, what's next? You gonna do another dinner? And we were like, we want to do a brunch. We want to do it outdoors.
Mhm,
And then Eugene's like, hey, remember that kitchen like we were thinking about, like renting from? Well, Dina, the owner of that kitchen, is also a part owner of like a farm. I think like and he sends me over the profile. I hit her up and we're on the phone within the hour.
mhm,
And just in talking with her, I looked at their website. I was like, oh my goodness, you're two I don't even want to say former educators, but former traditional educators,
mhm,
right? Dina is a board certified behavior analyst, worked, with, youth with, significant behavioral challenges, a lot of students on the spectrum, working within the schools. And, Lindsay, her partner, special education teacher from Long Beach Unified. And they both left the traditional kind of educational type of setting to then pursue their passions and, their dreams. And so they started a farm that used to be a parking lot over the when you exit the 710 Broadway. If you just look over, a lot of times you'll see this really cool mural. I had no idea there's a farm there that they created that used to be a parking lot. And so the two of them, not only do they teach uh, individuals with disabilities. I've been trying to train my brain to say exceptionalities, but a lot of times people, they're like, what do you mean exceptionalities? I'm like, I feel like disabilities has like a stigma to it. I
mm,
digress. And I kind of wanted to say like they're exceptional. They have their own exceptionalities. So
mm,
they work with youth with exceptionalities, along with youth in the foster care system.
mhm,
And not only do they work with them to teach them how to plant food, grow food, harvest the food, serve the food, cook with the food, sell the food. Like they're teaching their youth, and the youth in their program, kind of like that full circle. I mean,
mhm,
they're teaching the hospitality skills because they're serving the food, right? They're going to the farmers market and they're selling different produce. They're selling different products, teas, honey, that they've actually gone ahead and harvested and
mhm,
packaged up. They're going to different food banks, so they're learning those customer service skills. They To see and hear their stories. They are so happy when they are there. Every time I go onto that farm, I feel as though the students there, this is their haven, and they are gaining their confidence there, and it is giving them that skill to be able to become employed, and employed in a field that they love, that they feel happy being in. So, we've partnered up with them. We'll, get some produce from them. We'll purchase their produce. Or, right now, a residency that we have at a restaurant called Union, within Compound, a nonprofit art gallery space. We're getting edible flowers that goes into their cocktails, that goes onto their desserts. They are right now growing cilantro, hopefully to be able to cultivate and be able to fulfill the demand of that herb over there at the restaurant. So whatever we do, we're trying to involve them within. When we do have events specifically at the farm, we've been able to employ students in their program, pay them, their hourly wage, and then give them the opportunity to really feel as though they are part of this team and that they are a server, they're busing, they're helping prep food. It's been really, really awesome to just be able to provide them with that opportunity, but also be able to provide people who are supporters of Barrio with the opportunity to meet an organization that
Mm.
fulfills such an amazing mission, and for them to be able to meet students, that they might not have ever met before, and for them to be able to see like this focusing on the able. When we
Mm.
focus on what we all as individuals are able to do versus focusing on like, I can't do this, I can't do this. Like when we focus on that able and we really, really, utilize that to, strengthen who they are as individuals, it's like we see it. We just got to get you to see it. And we're going to go ahead and support you in whatever we can support you with to get you to see it and to develop that. Not saying that the areas of challenge are things that we ignore, but let's go ahead and celebrate you first. Let's build you upon that and build that confidence. And then we can also, of course, always work on our areas of growth because we all have them. All of us have them.
Well, I was gonna say earlier, I think that what is very powerful about you, Christine, is that I think that you I know that your training has been um, around children, youth, et cetera, and the services you can provide to helping folks with unique abilities to tap in to what those abilities are and to give them that confidence and be able to create that independence. But the truth is that um, you literally treat everyone that way. And the reality is that, even um, other, traditionally able-bodied individuals also need that, right? Like I think what's crazy sometimes is that you see folks that um, maybe don't have a specific unique ability per se in that kind of a sense, but still don't necessarily have the confidence, right? But there's something magical that happens when you come around and you meet people that are trying to start a small business, trying to offer a new handcrafted product of some kind, right? And you have a unique ability to see people and to make them feel seen. And I think that that's really like part of your magic, right? Like, I think that, yes, it's something that you have refined through your training, but it's truly just like your own unique superpower, right? And I think about all the different things that you've done. So right now it's Barrio, right now it's sowing seeds, right now it's you run this town. But quite frankly, when we used to work together on the Beat Swap Meet, right? Again, you're someone who's always just volunteering her personal time to help make other people's dreams come true. And no one gets like when you're involved in these events, no one is more hyped than you for everybody and everything. Like no one has as much appreciation, and your appreciation is always more than words. Your appreciation you put into action, right? And you think about the legacy of the Beat Swamp Meet. Vinyl collectors. If you're in LA, you know what's up. And if you
LA
don't,
Record Fair.
yeah, and if you don't,
Yeah.
look it up, right? So,
Mhm.
but again, you were foundational to that organization kicking off as well. So that is one of the things that I really hope that people take away from getting to know you and hopefully find that own little spark of gangsta that everybody has in them as well. So, switching gears a little and kind of like using that as a jump off when you're working on community projects and events, like I said, like what I think really stands out about everything that you do is that there is so much attention and intention and creativity that you put into everything, right? So I would like to maybe have you share a little about what I call it your creative process. Like I know that you're one of these people that you're like, oh no, I'm in operations, I'm in management, I'm in leadership. I don't really do creative. And again, anyone that knows you'd be like, nah, Christine is super creative, right? From the mocktails to the menus, to just building the bricks of foundation to take one small idea to life. That is all part of the creation process. And it's something that, quite frankly, you're fluent in every single component of those. So how, give us a little bit of a sample again of how do you stitch together some of these incredible programs and these, incredible events that you help to put together.
Wow. I am blessed to have cool friends.
You
I
curate your friends, girl. You curate, you have a collection of very talented people that just flock to you like butterflies to the light.
I I I am so grateful. I'm grateful every single moment for the amazing people in my life and for the folks who I've had the opportunity, and I'm gonna say I've met a lot of amazing artists, collectors, entrepreneurs just through the Beat Swamp meet and through Robbie, and people that I've met through, like it's I don't even want to say 6 degrees of separation. It's like, oh, this person, oh, and
That's
it's
true. You're
interesting
such a
where
connector. You really are. You are such a connector, which is another one of your superpowers. I'm convinced. Mhm.
I mean, I think that I'm really embracing and honing in on, there is only one of us, right?
Mm,
Like there is only one of you, Carla. There is no one in this universe that is you. And I almost feel like the the desire to um, be able to like bring a whole bunch of unique characters together, to share their talents, share their craft, share their, so whether that's spin and vinyl, whether that's providing people with their craft of jewelry, or vintage wear, or candles, whatever it is, food. I just feel like when I'm part of coordinating and organizing an event, first and foremost, I just want everyone to have a good time.
mm.
Right? I just want
Taste
everyone to come together, have a
taste
good
a
time,
good time. Taste a good time.
right? Um, so, what are the elements of having a great time, right? And I think to myself, man, the formula, I feel like good music,
Mm,
good
always.
music. I feel like it doesn't matter if the decor and the the setup is immaculate and amazing, and if the food is amazing, it doesn't matter if there's no music. That's just my opinion, which I think is shared by many.
Mm,
So music, number one. And I've been, of course, blessed with having amazing DJs in our lives,
mm,
and them wanting to share their craft. So music, food, always got to have an element of food,
mm,
and drinks, whether it's mocktails, cocktails, um, and then I think like having that element of being able to have things to do.
mm,
And when I say have things to do while you're there, it's not just conversing with people, listening to music, but it's also like, how can I go around and meet other people and be able to experience their talents and their crafts and be able to support them as well. I was like, I haven't shopped in a mall in so long. I'm like, I would just be like, okay, I'm gonna go to Beat Swamis every quarter. Okay, I'm gonna just get all my gifts there. I'm gonna do all my shopping there. So being able to support small business, as well as being able to just meet amazing people, and and having other people be able to meet them. It's kind of those are those elements there. Yeah, anything that could be um, multi-generational, is huge. I love outdoor space. I love people doing live art, sharing
mm,
art. And then I also have to think to myself, okay, and this is something that I've definitely learned. I feel like I've gotten a crash course in hospitality industry, in
mm,
the past year and a half, almost years, as well as just events. And I've always been with somebody that supports, right? Like, oh,
mm,
you're gonna do an event? Okay, let me know how I can help. And then coming onto this flip side of like, oh, now Barrio, we're now going to be organizing these events. I've
mm,
learned quite a bit, in terms of like I got to think of all the different elements that people want, who would be attending, and then all the different elements of vendors who would then be spending their time
Mm,
trying to, share their craft as well as, generate revenue, branding. So trying to like learn on both elements. I've always been used to being a patron,
mm,
and now coming on that flip side, it's been an absolute humbling experience. And I feel like God has, you know, really led my journey where it's like, oh, the last 8 years in education was for an educational agency, which is a business. And so really learning business and then being able to apply it in this world of hospitality. I don't think I've always had respect for small business, always had respect for hospitality and service.
mm,
And that has just like amplified to the nth degree.
mm,
It's hard work, and the smiles that you see when you get served and the pride that you see that, when they're sharing their craft. I mean, the things that people go through
mm,
to provide an experience, to provide that plate, to provide,
mm,
that pricing, all those things. It I am so humbled and I'm so grateful to just be able to experience that. And then when we do the events, it's how can I make sure that it's always mutually beneficial
mm,
on all ends as much as possible.
mm. So if I had to summarize an event curated by Christine Suh, I would say expect the perfect mix. You know,
Oh,
done deal, all the way around. And PS, she's also got an incredible vinyl collection. And if you're lucky, you might actually catch her sneak out and get on the ones and twos herself for like a nice little like she hadn't done it in a while, but she can. And I would love to see, Gangsta behind the tables again because like I said, you're such a multifaceted person, but I know that um I go back to there's few people that I know that appreciate music to the depth that you appreciate music. And yeah, like I think that you don't just appreciate the music itself, but you appreciate all that goes into it. Like literally, I watch you listen to music, and I know that you're listening to what they had to share, but you're also thinking about the stories behind it and the person and the human being behind it. And like I said, it's just all this. You're so intentional about um, the way that you approach everything in life, but you are also so attentive and paying such close attention um, to all the love that people put into their work. So, and I think again that all goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like how you make people feel truly seen in a unique way. So, and I feel like you kind of touched on it a little bit. So, the flip side of that question that I just asked you is, specifically, okay, so you do all these fantabulous events. You have this. You have your own process that again creates this perfect mix. And the result is always wonderful, but like you mentioned, these are also incredible learning experiences, right? So the question that I was going to ask you was, which has been the most challenging experience, or what has been your greatest teacher? Now it kind of sounds like Barrio is maybe the current, but I'll let you speak on it. Like what parts of your endeavors, either current or in the past, would you say has maybe been one of your greatest teachers?
whew, greatest teachers. I feel like I'm learning every day.
Mhm.
I am learning, honest to God, every day. And I feel like every morning I'm like, okay, please help me to be, kind, and please help me to be patient with myself and with every, with what's going on. Greatest teacher. I would say, can I share like maybe like my biggest lesson at this time?
For sure, absolutely.
Okay. I've really realized that, you know, number one, everybody wants to belong, right?
Mm,
Everybody wants to have a sense of belonging, whether that's one on one, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's like, when you go out to go eat, whatever you're doing, you always want to feel as though you belong
mm,
and that you are accepted. Um, and I think that that goes back to like, us really identifying like what's my interest, what's my strengths, what are my passions, what makes me tick, what's my purpose. Um, and learning that about yourself, and then learning how to accept all of the good, bad, and the ugly, and knowing that, like, like, we are all works in progress. And then going into that process of, like, I want to love myself.
Mm,
Like, I think the more that I can, like, accept and, like, love who I am as a person, and knowing what a, like, what an imperfect being I am, like, I'm a huge proponent of, like I said, like, how can we, each of us, um, really embrace that there is only one of us, and that there is nobody else we can compare to, because
mm,
there is only one of us. And I think my faith and my relationship in God, and being just so hopeful and thankful that, like, God loves me, and He knows that I am so imperfect, and me being able to, like, embrace that. And I think that's what's really driven my interactions with others,
mm.
is when I know that I am so imperfect, I'm learning every day, and that God's given me so much mercy and grace, and loves me unconditionally. I think that that really has allowed me to shape my interactions,
Mm,
with strangers, with, people that I love, like, with anybody that I interact with. And I really do think that, um, everybody needs a champion, just
mm,
one. Right? Everybody needs a champion. Kids, adults, we all need, like, at least one person in our world who we feel as though got our back, loves us unconditionally, um, supports us, sees us. It's just being that one. And I feel like a lot of times I get caught up in, like, I want to make a bigger impact, and I want to make this and it's like, no, 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 like, bring it all down, bring all of that down. And it's the simple things, it's all the little things. It's, how did you greet this person, how did you treat that person, every single interaction in every daily life, like,
mm.
just, I feel like everything could make an impact. And I think that, us being able to treat other people in a way that is just kind and accepting and loving. I do think one of my superpowers is being able to see things in other people that they might not see in themselves. I really see a lot of gifts and talents and, potential that, I think a lot of times it's like, oh, you didn't see that. And I don't mean to ever pressure anybody, like, oh yeah, this is something that I can see you doing. But just being able to, like, plant a seed and then pray on it. And, and at the end of the day, I just want everyone to be able to find their purpose,
Mm.
and love themselves, and be able to share that purpose to love on others.
You are
Mhm.
so on mission in your life, girl. Like honestly, like all of the good feels, all the good feels. So what I'm hearing in what you just shared with us is it's not necessarily that there's ever been one particular thing that was your greatest challenge or your greatest teacher, but it's actually one life lesson that continues to repeat itself, continuously in your life. And the reason that I think that personally like completely makes sense, like knowing your story, your background, and what you do is, like I mentioned, like you're someone that has such a clear understanding of their purpose and what lights them up. And I think that each one of those interactions, each one of those opportunities that present itself is because you're just so in tune with that those are the experiences that continue to show up and to come up because you're constantly living your purpose. So I absolutely love that. And I think that that's a fabulous transition to, to our favorite Power Street Theater question, which is what makes you feel the most powerful? And again, like, when we think about what makes us feel powerful, I also think about it as, because for some of us, like, oh, like powerful sounds like such a again, you're such a humble person that I think that you don't necessarily always recognize or feel comfortable admitting how powerful and badass you are. So I would Avex. That's the homie. Anyways, so so but yeah, I always say, like, what lights you up the most, when you're thinking about what makes you feel the most powerful, what do you feel lights you up the most?
I feel like There's a couple things. It's hard for me to come up with one. I know that that's, I don't,
Just trying, just
it's
go.
hard for me to come up with one. I would say one of the things that makes me feel most powerful is um, when, and this is like kind of like in the world of education, it's, I remember students being so frustrated with, whatever they were learning in the classroom, and then they would come into, the learning center, and I would, work with them, and the aha, like,
Mm,
it was so hard and it was so confusing, and oh my gosh, I got it. Oh, this is easy, miss. You did it. You did, like,
mm,
like, I feel like I feel really powerful when um I'm able to help other people find their strength, or
mm,
find their power, or acknowledge and see their power. I feel like I feel really powerful in those moments too. I feel like I feel really powerful when um, I'm in the company of human beings, people like you, who really see me, who I feel
mm,
like I can be, you know, my true authentic self. I know that a lot of times everyone's like, oh, you bring this energy and you're like sunshine. And I'm like, I'm not like that 24/7, not 365. Like, I am human. And I love and feel very powerful when I'm around people who,
mm,
in my highs and my lows, um, just love me, and just
mm.
love me, and like help me remind myself, like, hey, like, be nice to my friend Christine, or hey, like, she's fine too, or, like, you gangsta, and
Mm,
I think that, those gems in my life um, have really truly helped me to just remember, and I think that we stay humble, we stay hungry, and I think we just, as a collective, it's like, we know we can't do everything on our own.
mm,
We just can't. There's so much that we can do on our own, but man, we are powerful when we are all working together,
mm,
and being able to find, what gaps can I fill, where can I contribute, like, where can I help other people shine. um, I think those are the times where I just feel like, when I see people smile on their face, and I'm like, or when I see people just having a good time and being like, this was success, you
mm,
know? Those are the times where I'm just like, oh man, like, I'm so glad that you see what I see, and that you've decided to, like, take a chance on yourself. It's hard. It's always a risk, right? When we take a
mm,
chance on ourselves and we're like, we're gonna do this. All right, I'm following God's guidance, follow my purpose. I don't know and what it's going to look like a year or two, 5 years from now. I can envision that, but um being able to, like, be a part of a collective, be a part of a community that truly embraces one another, and makes everyone feel like they belong, is when I probably feel the most powerful.
mm. So much awesome good sauce. By the way, I hope you're enjoying all of my food related puns, by the
I
way.
mean,
Like,
when you were like, "Oh, don't," like, I don't know if I want to I was like, get goofy. I love it. I love it. I
hey,
love it.
yeah, so many gems in what you said. And I think like what is also something that I think is uniquely special about the events that I've seen you be a part of is the ripple effect. The it's not just in that moment that people are like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, this is great. It's not just in that moment that like you help someone figure out something and that sense of relief and that sense of like joy and confidence that just like bursts out of them in that moment. Like it's the ripple effect that keeps it moving. Like the conversations about that event that keep on moving. People are still talking about the food. They're still talking about the way that it made them feel. They're talking about how being at that one event lit something inside of them that made
Mhm.
them want to continue down this path of, you know, finding their own moments of creative expression or investing in themselves in a unique way. Those are some of the really awesome things that I think are, um, you know, part of what makes the programs and the events that you curate so special. And again, I always attribute that back to it's because you put so much love and so much intention behind each and every one of them. So that being said,
And I
what
want to just time out because I'm like, I feel like, I don't ever do anything like, I'm not curating all this like on my own. I'm like, a lot of the things that I'm a part of it's a collective effort. So, I mean, like I've absolutely enjoyed, working on events like with you and, through Shiro Collective. And, she would still remember our trip to Korea.
those are great.
And I feel like, again, I go back to like, man, I got some cool friends. I got some talented friends, and it's been awesome to be able to collectively like organize, um, and being able to like divvy things up, and we come together, and it's kind of like being a facilitator almost, right? Like even as a teacher,
Mhm.
I never thought like I'm the teacher, I'm the person with all the knowledge. Like, nah, dude, I learned so much from my kids.
Mm.
Where it was more of like, let me facilitate, and let's all kind of learn from one another. And I feel like, man, like in our collective and in our circles, that continue to expand, which I think is beautiful. It's all been like we
Yeah.
facilitate and we support.
Now keep in mind though, like again, I go back to um, you are someone that attracts this swarm of butterflies. Like you're someone that and I go back to in my mind, you've curated consciously or unconsciously this collective that you're around because you continue to nurture it. You plant those seeds, you tend to those crops, and you nurture them. And I'm gonna make you just take these flowers right now and just take it. So, but that being said, tell the folks who tapped in for today, what's on the radar, what's coming up, like what's next, what's an upcoming event that Barrio is throwing, or any one of the other organizations that you're working with right now? What should folks keep on the lookout for over the next month or two, to have a personal experience of what we've been talking about?
Oh man, month or two, we are reactivating the duplex, and this is my home. This is where we live. We've had so many different people come in and live through this place. We called it what? The hip hop halfway ways. Oh yes, one of my favorites. One of my favorite tenants of all time.
Two-time
Um,
resident.
and I've always when I was able to purchase this property back in like '07, I had dreams of just it being a community location. I wanted people to come here, feel at home here, break bread here together. We had beat swap meet meetings here in the back where we just invited everybody in and like, hey, Robbie facilitated like, this is what thinking, who's on board. Like, I just feel like music's been created here. Just so much has happened here. And so we are curating our first reactivation, our first event back at the duplex. It's called Sunday Jam,
Mm,
and this is where we are having a local coffee vendor, Shio, where we've got a whole bunch of the friends, Ryan, Jay, Vince, Nose, like doing all vinyl sets here. We're debuting our lead line cook that takes care of all of our adult day center cooking. And so he's going to be debuting here and serving up breakfast bites. We've got our signature coconut jam.
mm,
That is one of my favorite condiments. We're going to be doing some free tastings of that. We've got some mocktails, some cocktails. Feel free to come on through. We, as a company, are continuing to look for our brick and mortar.
mm,
We've continued to want to, I mean, the reason why we all kind of came together and formally established was because we see this similar vision of this brick and mortar bodega style. And I won't share too much about kind of like what we would like to have, but event space, a place where other people can go ahead and curate as well. We want to be able to share space with others who, I mean, man, this community is amazing. And there's so many different collectives in this community that we would love to collab with and uplift and all work together. So there's that. We're Mary and I, one of the other barrio partners, we have to consistently think of like, how do we continue on the barrio brand, as our CEO executive chef, is working really, really hard over there at Union in the residency, curating, executing the menu over there. It's been an amazing privilege and opportunity to have that partnership. And so how can we go ahead and continue on the brand? We kind of look at different branches, so we've got different branches of business under Barrio. So check us out on Instagram, Eat Barrio, and you'll kind of see where we're going to be popping up, jamming, doing some free tastings and whatnot, as well as different partnerships that we will be working with in curating different events. The first one being here at the Duplex.
So all I got to say is I am, because again, like hip hop just celebrated 50 years of empowering the people last year, right? And I predict that in the next 50 years, that duplex will be a historical hip hop monument.
I
You heard it here first, folks. If you're
I
ever in
love
a,
it.
again, you got to stop by the duplex. It is there's a lot of history in that house. We're going to have to start creating a timeline and documenting all the things that have happened there because it is
You know what? We need to do that. A part of me wants to create like a book.
I was just
A book.
literally thinking that.
I want to have a book. I first and foremost want to have like a party here with everybody who's lived here before. Invite them all back, and then have like a bio book. Like here is a bio and image and different pictures like throughout the years of people who have lived at this duplex. And I am absolutely honored to have had so many amazing souls. I mean, people who are what do I call them? Like the two timers, right? So it's like in a good way, right? Like Vex has lived here before. He is now living here again.
Yeah, like last time Vex was living there, he was in my extra room.
So it's been awesome just to be able to offer a place, I've always taken pride in living. You want to come home and you want to feel like you're in a sanctuary. You want to feel so comfortable in your home. And so I do my best to try to make the home into a place where people feel proud and people feel, just comfortable and have it being a sanctuary. It's been an absolute blessing to, yeah, and neighbors. I think my most recent, on a complete flip side, I think my most recent endeavors, I just joined as a member of the LA County Fairplex Association. And so, man, I had no idea all the amazing things they have going on at the LA County Fairplex, to like full on farm, to career tech ed programs, to an early ed center, to, the learning centers at the Fairplex, to, concert series. So I always thought like, oh, I go to the LA County Fair to go to the fair, and I go there to, go to like different shows in the past, and to see all that is going on there, and I'm really looking forward to like learning from all the amazing like board members, association members, and the learning centers. I'm really excited to see kind of like, what can I learn and what can I contribute through amazing networks that, we have, to be able to like, there's another space, there's other opportunities where we can kind of connect dots and see what we can go ahead and do to amplify.
I was just like, what is running through my mind is, if anybody watching this is not from LA, when you come to LA, you should absolutely tap in with Christine Suh on follow Barrio on IG, and literally you will have the best source of all the best, most flyest experiences in LA. Because the truth is that she's super tapped in, and she's a great connector, and just constantly just like tapped into all of I want to say succulence of LA, and if you are from LA and you don't know Christine Suh, then you should actually get to know Christine Suh. Bring over to the duplex, check out Barrio, check out some of these foundations that she's involved with, because you're going to absolutely have an incredible time, and you're going to leave with your heart feeling super full. So my last question for you today, Christine, is what do you hope that your life legacy will be?
Life legacy. I am hoping that I can be a part of something that, let me scratch that. Hold on. Life legacy, man. Like, what do I want to be remembered for?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
what do I want to be remembered?
When you look back on your life, what's going to make you feel fulfilled?
I think what would help make me feel fulfilled, and like what I would want people to remember me for is how I made them feel.
Mm,
You know, I think like the Maya Angelou quote of, people might not remember what you say, like they're not going to remember like, what you've taught them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Um, and I'm hoping that, um, that people feel as though like I felt loved, I felt seen, I felt, uplifted, empowered, supported. I'm just hoping that, I made people feel, that they could be their true authentic self. Um, I'm hoping that the things that I'm a part of will continue to, grow on and continue to expand. And I don't want things to, you know, be eliminated because I'm gone. I'm always thinking about capacity building and replications. And I'm hoping that, whatever I'm able to build within collectives, that we are able to share that, and so that other collectives and other things can be built with all the same mission, really, you know, um, is really building community and, being that one for people in other people's lives, being that one, that makes other people feel seen and heard and, loved. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that, man, I'm hoping that, I can just come up with the right words right now.
Girl, I'll put it this way. So listen, like I actually feel like you said everything that you needed to say right there. Looking at my time just so I can like give like some notes to Jose. But I will, in response to that, again, I think that you're someone who is so clear on their purpose and everything that you talked about in terms of what you hope to be remembered for. Um, I can, without a shadow of a doubt, tell you that you are living your legacy, every single day. That's exactly how you make people feel. That is exactly what you will be known for. And I do have like every faith that the seeds that you are planting are going to continue to yield, fruit for, generations to come. So Christine Suh, oh, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, for this power talk today. It has been an absolute pleasure to get to share your story with all of our folks. And big thanks to Power Street Theater for letting us participate in this series for I want to say this the second year in a row. First year was as a guest, but like this sheer collective collaboration with Power Street Theater is 2 years running. So I couldn't think of someone better to help close this series with. So again, thank you so much, Christine Suh. And like I said, we will continue this conversation and we will continue this work together. Okay.
Aw, thank you, Power Street, and thank you. I love you to death, and I just always love just conversing with you and chopping it up and building. So, thank you, love you so much.
All right. Peace, everybody. Much love. Stay blessed and tap in next year. Later.
Peace.